In this video, we'll see how to get started with the React project. So first thing, you have to create a folder where you want your React project. So I created a folder called chat app. So as we are going to build chat application, I have named it as chat app. So you have to remember one thing is that your folder name should be in lowercase letters because the React folder name should be in lowercase. So since we need one IDE, I will be using Visual Studio Code in this project. You can open your folder in the project. And once it opens, you have to open the folder in your terminal, or you can use the Visual Studio Code terminal as well, but I'll be using the Hyper terminal because it has many customization and good features. So I'll be going into the folder where it is present. So now you have to do one command, that is npx create react app dot. So what this command does is that actually setting up a React project is a big task. So what Facebook developers did is that they created a script that we can use and run it to create the React app. So this is the name of the script that they created, create react app. npx is like a module or package from npm that is used to run this script, and dot indicates that you have to create the React project in the existing directory you are in. So if we don't specify dot, it will create a new directory. So that's why we have to specify dot to create in the existing directory itself. So when I click enter, this will take some time, around 2 to 3 minutes. And if your computer is fast, it may take around 30 seconds to 1 minute. So just be patient with it. So when you get these kind of messages like happy hacking npm start, that means your React app has been successfully built. So now to start the React app, we have to follow one following command, that is npm start. So this will start your React app on your local host at a default port number 3000. So basically what the React developers did is they gave a default template for the React app. That's why you can see already some source files and public files, as you can see. So what I'll be doing is I'll be deleting the boilerplate code that is set up by the React developers, and we'll start from scratch. That is, we want blank screen to start with. Okay, so we can delete them. Logo, just I want index and app.js. Apart from that, you can delete everything and go to public. Except index.js, you can delete everything. Index.html. So in app.css also you can remove this all. App.js, no need of the boilerplate code. So just we want a hello world, so we'll be using h1. Hello world. So as you can see in the localhost 3000 it is running. So there is some error because we haven't cleared the boilerplate yet. So we'll do that. Import this. So yeah, go to index.html and remove this boilerplate code. Remove the comments. So this is the basic HTML, right? The basic HTML with root division. The root division indicates where our React app should start from. In index.js, as you can see, we are rendering the website from the root element, and everything inside the index we are having app component. So in app.js, we'll be having all the components that we want in our website. So if you now see our website, you can see a simple hello world statement, and we are having the website from scratch. Now we can go and build a chat application. See you in the next video. Hello and welcome to the project. So now in this project, we'll see how to build a chat application from scratch using React.js. So now in this chat application, we can log in with users, chat with other users, and also the data that like all the messages will be saved in the database of React Chat Engine. So now what we'll do, the first step is to project setup, and then we'll be knowing about the React Chat Engine, and then we'll be designing the chat feed, my message and their message components. Message form and login form are also the components. Axios is used for REST API thing for the get and post requests, and then finally we'll complete the project. So these are the step-by-step process that we'll do in this project. The frameworks and technologies that you will learn from this project are React, Chart Engine, Axios, React Props, useState, useEffect, and other state hooks. And also we'll see how to implement the login authentication using local storage. So basically in this project, we'll see more business logic coding. Like there are many statements, like conditional statements we'll work on. So it is everything based on logic. So now we'll see how the website finally looks like. So this is how the website finally looks like. This is the login page. So I have a user called John and his password is QWERTY, the first 6 letters of the keyboard. And I can click on start chatting. So you can see already John is chatting with Ram. You can see there is a group called team over here. And then there are 2 members inside the team group. Those are John and Ram. You can also see the people that are present over here. You can see the photos that they shared in this group and the options extra thing. So you can also send messages, also images and videos. You can see since I logged in with John, you can see John has this online symbol and Ram is offline. So if you want, you can create a new group of testing. So you can see a new group for testing is created, and you can also add people over here. We can use that for like chatting with our friends and everything. We can do this using the React Chat Engine API that we'll see how to do in this project. So this is the final version of the project that we are going to build after the end of all the videos. I hope you will be thoroughly enjoying in the process of building this project. We'll see in the next video. In the previous video, we have set up the React application. So now we'll see the next step, that is building the React Chat Engine using the React Chat Engine library. So go to Google and search for React Chat Engine. You will be getting this website. So first thing you have to do is you have to sign up or log in. If you are already having an account, you can log in, or else you can sign up. So I signed up with my Gmail and password. So once you sign up, you can see this home page. So now we are here, we are going to create a new project. So our project title will be Chat Application. Get started. So you'll be seeing you are getting some project ID, API key and that thing. So we'll see what it is and where to use it. So now we have to go here, and then as you can see, go to the terminal and import the packages that are required to start building the chat application. npm install. So we'll be using the and design icons. Axios and React Chat Engine. Chat Engine. So wait for a few seconds, this will take some time to install. So the packages are installed. So once the packages are installed, we can start using them in our app.js. So I'll be importing the Chat Engine. Import Chat Engine. So the first letter of each word should be capital while importing, because here we are importing by object destructuring. So this is how it should be. So if you want to check whether the React Chat Engine is installed or not, you can go to your package.json and then start looking for the libraries. As you can see, the Axios, all in the dependencies object, you can see the Axios, React Chat Engine and everything, and design icons have been installed and the latest version is installed. So this is an easy way to check whether they are installed or not. If they are not installed, you can there is another simple way to install them. You can go to the terminal and install them one by one. So sometimes what happens is when you install some packages together, it might not work every time. So install one by one, and also if it's still not working, then add a flag called -- save -- at the end of the install. For example, npm I Axios -- save. So this should work if it is not installing. So after importing, like Now there should be some styles for the app.js, right? So we imported the style sheet here, so I'll be creating the style sheet over here. Okay, sorry. So the file is already exists. So open app.js. Now what I will be doing is I'll be copy pasting some code. Since here our target is to learn advanced concept of React, such as sockets, React chart engine, props, and sort state providers, React reducer DOMs. So as our goal is to learn advanced concepts of React, including the REST APIs. So I don't want to bore you by writing the code of the CSS styling code. So what I'll do is I'll copy paste the code over here, right over here. You can see it's basically simple, like padding, position, and everything. Like you can do this by trial and error by spending some time for it. So the code will be available for you. So you can check through that and then you can do the same. You can feel free to change the code anytime. Like you can customize the styling if you want. So once I save this, I'll go to app.js, and as I imported the chart engine, now I'll be using the chart engine component. So now the props part comes. So what props we have to send to this component? First thing is height. How much height you want the chart engine to take your website. So basically we want the full website. So I'll be giving it 100 VH. That means vertical height. So one rule you have to remember while giving props is that the props are like the attributes of HTML tags. So basically if you are using a H1 tag or a form tag, you will have some attributes. So similarly, chart engine is also a tag, but it's a custom tag that we are using, like we are building or using that someone else built. So that's why it is same, like giving attributes to the default HTML tags without any commas or without any full stops, anything. Like it should be a attribute equals to and the attribute value. So after height, we'll want the project ID. So this is the API that we saw when we created the project. You can see the project ID over here. So you can copy paste this. Yeah. So now we want the username and password. Or password is also called as user secret. This is the naming convention of the chart engine props. So we'll be using user secrets. So once we are done with this, so now we'll go to the chart engine and we'll create a new user. So let me give the username as something called John. Our password will be QWERTY, QWERTY. So basically the first 6 letters of the keyboard. So let us give some random email like john@gmail.com. First name will be John. Last name. So basically email also not necessary. Like these three are important for creating the user. No need to give the first name, last name, since there is no asterisk. Even the avatar is not important. Like so we'll be skipping everything. We'll be just giving the username, secret, and confirm secret. So create person. Since we are using a very simple password, Chrome gives us a warning like your password is found in a database. So since we are doing this for testing purpose, we are using that password. But when you create the real app, you have to use the passwords that are highly not encryptable. Okay. So once we create the user, you can see the user present over here. Then we can create a new chart. Chart title will be chart application. Then admin username, like we'll give the admin currently as John, since we have created only one user, and create chart. So yeah, so after this, you can use the user's password and username over here in our chart engine props. Password will be QWERTY. We can use environment variables like create a .env file and then store this password, username, and project ID in them, and then import the env file and then use as the variable so that if someone has to access to the index app.js file, they cannot see your username and password. So for now, we'll keep it like this way. So once this is done, open your chat application. So as you can see, with one simple thing, like we are able to build this complete, like with some small amount of code, like what we have done, we have just used some styling in app.css. We have used the React chat engine in our app.js. So this will create this website. We can add charts over here, and then let me type. So this will take some time to render since like we haven't completed the complete code. It will take some time. So you can view this afterwards. So this is how the basic chart engine we have built. So now what we'll do is like we have hard coded the part, like John is the only user who has the access to the chat application. Like what if multiple users can log in and chat as their account? Like by default only John can use the website now. So if we want like 100 users, they should have a login password. When you enter the login password, it has to check the authentication and then allow you. You can chat with one person with another person. So this connection between two endpoints will be using socket and also the REST API part. And then there are many other React concepts coming up in the further video. So we'll check out them from the next video. This is where we left out in the last video. So now we have created the React chart engine, we have imported it, and also created the basic structure that is required for the chart engine. We have created a project and gave this project ID to the prop, and then the username, and then the user secret. So now what we want to do, we have to see the chart feed of the user, like in that current group, what are the messages that are sent by him or also the other users present in the group. That means we want to see the chart feed over here. Since there are no messages set, if a user sends a message or someone in the group sends as of now there is only one person John in the group, but if someone sends a message, you should be able to see, right? So this is how we will do now. We'll be starting to build the component chart feed. So now to render the chart, we have to write some code. There is a prop called render chart feed. It will take the chart app props. So this should be inside the brackets. So yeah, so now we'll be having an arrow function, and now it will return the chart feed component. This chart feed component will take props. We'll be using the spread operator to send all the props of the chart app props. So yeah, so this is how we can render the chart. We have to build the chart feed component now. And then I also want, like, whenever a user sends a message or I receive a notification, I usually like to get a sound so that I'll be notified easily. So for that we can use a new message. So this is also a prop. New audio. So I'm creating a new audio object. So here I will be using the HTTPS. So this is basically the audio sound that I captured, the URL I captured from online. You can basically simply use this from charting. This comes from the chart engine. Assets. So on click, it should play, right? Click.mp3. Now it should play on click. So we'll do play. So this is how the on new message works. So now as we are using chart feed over here, we'll build a new component called chart feed inside the component section. So now, yeah. So now we are going to start building the components. So I'll be creating a new folder for components. And inside components, we can start chart feed.jsx. It's also okay if you only keep JS as the extension. It still works because Babel, it always reads JS or JSX files as same. So no problem for that, but I like to use the JSX extension. So inside here, simply you can, since when we are using JSX, we don't need to import React every time. It is auto imported. So we can directly create the chart feed. Since we are sending props, we need to catch the props over here. And then we can return something like, right, say a div okay, wait for a second, yeah, div like chart feed. And then you can, for example, if you want, you can console log and see whether props, what kind of props you are getting. So yeah, so now once we save this, we can go, oh, there is an error. Chart feed is not defined. So basically we are not exporting chart feed. So export. So this is a good practice, like whenever you start building a component, first build the basic constant chart feed, return some default div with the name of the component, and also export it so that you can check whether it's working or not. Export default chart feed. So there's still an error, like chart feed is not defined in app.js. So in app.js, you have to import it. You should not forget to import it. It's inside the components folder / chart feed.jsx. So now I think it should work. There's still an error. What is there? Chart feed.jsx. Okay, import. I'm forgetting to import the chart feed component. So there shouldn't be any error. Yeah. So now you can see, like, we got the chart feed over here, the title. So it's working pretty fine. So now the next step we have to do is we have to create the other components such as my message, their message, and message form. So now let me start creating the components. My message.jsx, their message.jsx. So this is created to, like, for example, if you take any chat application, your messages will be on one side and the opposite person's messages will be on the other side. So this, to render in this fashion, we'll be using different components for each messages. So once it is created, we'll be using the message form. Message form means the input field to send messages. And then finally, you will be creating the login form after completing of all these components. The login form is basically for users to log into the app and then start using it. So once you create everything, you can basically create a constant for them. Const my message is equals to, and then return a div saying my message, then export default my message. So I'll be copying this and then using it same over here. So instead of my message, I can use their message over here. Also their message. Similarly, you can do it over here. So I'll be using the shortcut is Ctrl+Shift+L to select all the text items with the same name. Message form. Message form. So now we are good to go. Yeah. So there are no errors. Like, we have started building all the components. And in the next video, we'll see the business logic to write inside the chart feed so that we can see all the users' messages that they are sending. In the previous video, we saw how to get started with the components. So now here, if you look at the chart engine UI docs, on the left side, you can see customize UI and then the components over here. So yeah, in the render functions, you can see render chart feed, render chart header, and also render people settings. So these are all the props that you can use from the UI docs that the chart engine developers provided to customize your chat application in the way you want. So there are also many things like you can see the context API, function and APIs, event hooks such as on edit message, the sounds, or when we are editing the message to see some animation or some kind of thing, the web hooks, a full REST API. So this will redirect you to the another page where you can see the how to, like, this is the last step of the project. We'll see how the authentication thing, the login thing using sockets, the how to how to understand the error codes, the rate limit and everything. So this is how you can check the documentation if you want to design your app in more like in your own way, your more customization or some sort of thing. So now let us see the next step, that is the chart feed, writing code for the chart feed. Let me open Visual Studio Code. So go inside the chart feed. Now as we created everything, we can import them. I'll be importing all the components. Put my message from and then importing their message also. Port message form. So now no need to console log. As I said, you can check whether inside the inspect element and open the console and check the objects present over here. As you can see, we are getting the all the information that we want from the chart, like the chat ID, the charts that are present. Since there is no chart present, the value is null. And then everything, like you can use whatever kind you want, username and the user secret. We can encrypt them using the environment variables or passport, or there are many various ways. So this is out of the topic, so we are not going to discuss it. This is how you can see what we are getting. If you have doubt in any step, the basic way to sort that out is that console log it. So whenever you don't understand a variable, what the variable is having or what the variable is storing, just console log it and see what it is what is happening. So this is basically what the developers do. They just console log whatever they don't understand. So now as we got the props, I will destructure them. I'll take only the information that I want. So basically you can do the destructuring of the object in this way. I want the charts present, the active chart present, username, and messages of the user. So these elements I'll get from props. So after that, you can store inside, you can create a chart constant. If there are charts present, then it will run this line of code. From the charts, it will take the active chart. Active chart is basically the ID. So what this line does is, we are creating a constant called chart. If charts is true, then this line of code will execute. And then what it will return is charts of active chart, the chart that the user is currently using, that we are storing inside chart. Okay. So after this, we can create a function called render messages. So I'll be creating a constant called keys, in which I'll store the keys of messages. That means every message will have a certain key, unique key, so that I will be storing inside the keys. Object means it's referring to the current object. So once you do that, you can basically return those keys. You can use the map function for those keys. So the parameters will be key and index. So what this should return? So So basically it should return, we will not be using this. Yeah. So it should return the constant message. It should store the messages that the key has. So when we are mapping through the key, we'll get a key. Like for the first message, there will be a unique key. For the second message, there will be another unique key. So now we'll be storing the message of that key in a constant called message. So this contains a single message. So we'll be selecting the messages key. So what this will give is it will store the message of that particular key inside a constant called message. So every time the loop runs, it will store every time. So that is how it works. And then last message. How to store the last message key? So carefully look over here. We'll be writing some logic code. If index is equals to 0, then we'll be storing null. That means there is no last message. Otherwise, we'll be storing the last message key, right? Index -1. So index gives the value of the key as we are taking in the parameter. So this is how we can get the last message key. And then is my message. That means I said you, if we want to differ from their message to our message, we'll be using the basic chat principles, like our messages will be on one side and their message will be on other side. So how to check whether it is our message? So basically, if username matches the message.sender.username, sender's username. So this is how we can do it. So with this, we completed the storing of message, last message key, and checking whether this will return a boolean, whether if it's equal, it will return true, and this will contain a boolean, whether true or false. Then after that, you can return. This is basically render messages. That means to render all the messages of that particular chart. So what we'll be rendering is, we'll be rendering a div. Oh, this is not working. Okay, div, yeah, cool. So inside the div, we'll be having a key. Key basically contains the message, MSG. I'll be using the dollar operator for extraction of the data. Index. So this will be the key of that division. And we'll be having some custom style. Width will be 100%. Yeah. So this is the div. And now inside this div, we'll be having a message block. So now how to check whether it is my message or not? As I said you, is my message will contain the boolean. So if it is true, I should render my message. If it is not true, I have to render the read receipts, right? So we'll be writing the code for that. If it's my message, is my message, then I'll be rendering my message component. This will be self closing tag. Okay. Yeah. So if not, then I should render their message if it is not my message. Yeah. So with this, the div will be completed. So I'll be sending some props over here. To use my message or their message, we need to have message, right? So I'll be sending the prop of message. That will be message, the current message. And then similarly over here, their message, there should be a prop sending message. And also we have to send the last message. if it is their message, we want to know how many messages they send. So that's why we'll be sending the last message with the help of the last message key. So in the messages array, we'll be searching for the message with last message key. Yeah, so this is how it should be done. So once this div is completed, we can read receipts. We can create the div for read receipts. So this div will have a custom styling. So style should be object. So that's why we'll be using double parenthesis. And the margin right should be if it is my message, it should be 18 pixels. Otherwise, it should be 0 pixels if it is their message. So how to do that? If it is my message, so it should be 18 pixels. So this is basically this pixels. I have picked the correct values that will suit based on different permutations and combinations using the trial and error method. Otherwise, it should be 0 pixels. And then the margin right, sorry, the margin left. Margin left also same thing. If it is my message, it should be 0 pixels. Otherwise, it should be 868 pixels. Is my message. It should be 0 pixels. Otherwise, it should be 68 pixels. Basically, this is done by trial and error method. I have picked the best values for you. So we have done with the read receipts div. Once this div is closed, you can close the other div also and keep the closing divs. So yeah, so with this we have completed the render messages function. So now what is the next step? So next step is we have to return the div that we want exactly, right? So the first division class name will be chart feed. Then the next div will be chart title container. This is basically the basic HTML and CSS part that you can understand quite easily. And inside the chart title container, we'll have a div called chart title. So here inside the chart title, we'll be having the title of the chart, right? If there is some chart present, like already the users are charting, then we want to see the title of the chart. So this is how we can do that. So we can, yeah. So after this div, we can have the subtitle dot subtitle div. And inside we'll be having some logic shortly. So after this we'll be calling the render chart messages. So this will render all the messages of that particular chart feed. So we can call the function render messages. Yeah, cool. After this finally we should have the message form to send message. So I'll have a div now with a style, height will be 100 pixels. Yeah, cool. So this should be a self-closing div. And after the div, so basically this is this div we are using height of 100 pixels because to give some gap between the render messages chart feed and then the message form that we are going to build now. So after this, we'll be using the message form container. Message form container. So inside this, we can call the component message form component. Message form. We'll be sending all the props using the spread operator and also the chart ID. With the props that are previously existed, we are sending the new prop, that is the chart ID. We are sending the active chart. So with this, basically the basic version of our chart div is ready, the chart feed. So that there is some more steps like we have to use this, we have to build the render read receipts function that we used over here. Apart from that, everything is done. And then in the next video, we'll see the remaining portion of the chart feed and also the message and my message components. In the previous video, we have seen how to build the chart feed. So basically, we have created the render messages function and rendered all the messages using the props that we get from the React chat engine. So now one little thing that is left is here inside this read receipts div, we have to create a read receipts function, which we'll do later. So now our interest is building this my message and their message chart components. So first thing, in my message chart component, inside when we are going into this my message, as you can see inside message chart feed, when we are calling this my message, we are sending some prop, that is the message prop. So now we have to cache that prop over here. So I'll cache the message prop. So once we get hold of the message prop, now I want to see whether the message is an image or not. If it is image, I have to render it in another way. If it is a text, I will render it in another way. So how to check whether it is an image or not? So for that, we can use the if condition. If message dot attachments. So basically the images will be in the form of attachments to the message. If this is true, if the message dot attachments is not 0, if it is greater than 0, then and. So what this and does is, it is a and operator. If this is true, then only it will check the next statement. So basically if it is true, it will follow and proceed to the next statement. So this is where we will write the logic. Message dot attachments dot length is greater than 0. Length is greater than 0. So we are checking whether the images are greater than 0 or not. Whether it is an image or whether it is a PDF or whether it is a video, we don't know. So we are checking the length of the image, whether we are sending 2 images, 3 images, or maybe more. So if this condition holds, then we have to return the image. So I'll be returning the image over here. Image is basically the, it is a basic HTML tag, pre-built or inbuilt HTML tag. So here we can give some attributes. So the source will be message dot attachments dot file. So this is how we can get the source of the image. Inside the message prop, we can go to the attachment. We can access the attachment, and if there are more attachments, it will be an array. So we'll be getting the first element of that attachment, and then the file will give the location of that attachment inside our local system. So I'll be giving a alt prop. So in simple language, these props are called as attributes if it is an inbuilt HTML tag. If it is a customized HTML tag, then we call them as props. So that is the simple difference, and that is how you can remember. I'll give a message attachment all. If for some reason it is not rendering the image, it should give a message, so the user should know, it should be user friendly. I'll be giving a class name. Class name will be message image. After that, we can give a style to it. Float right. So this styling, it is basically simple CSS. You can see which style suits the chat UI user interface by simply trial and erroring. So with this, we completed the image part. So now if it is true, then it will return this image. If it is not true, then it will does not go into the block, the if block, and it will directly return this statement. So what we have to return? We have to return the messages. No, okay, our messages, not the images. If it is image, this will perform. If it is not an image, then we have to return the message. So we'll be giving a class name called message. Style will be float to the right. Margin right will be 18 pixels. 18 pixels. Color will be white. And then finally the background color will be giving a hash code 3B2A50. 3B2A50. So yeah. So with this, now inside the div we have to return the message.text, the text present inside the message. So now we have completed the my message component. So next we'll see how to render their message. So this will be similar to my message, like rendering if it has an attachment, rendering it in a different way. If it does not have an attachment, rendering the message itself. So we'll see how to do that in the next video. In this video, we'll see how to write the code for read receipts and the message form.jsx components. So first, we have to go to the chart feed component. And then, as you can see here, we have created a class for read receipts, but haven't written any code inside it. So now we'll write the code that is required. So after rendering, like inside this div of read receipts, class name read receipts, we'll call a function, a JavaScript function, that is render read receipts. So this function is basically to render the chart feed on the left side or right side. If it is your message, it should be on the right side. If it is your other opposite side message, then it should be on the left side. So we'll send two parameters. One is the message itself, and the other is the boolean, whether it is your message or not. So is my message. So once we send the JavaScript function, we have to create the function. So here we have created the function for render messages. Now we'll create the function for read receipts, render read receipts. We'll take two parameters, message and is my message. And we'll have a arrow function. So what it should return? So basically it should return the message to the left or the right side. So we have to map whether, like we have to map through the persons array, right? So we'll go to chart.people. So from all people, we'll map through each person. So there will be two parameters, person, comma, index. So every time the loop runs, there will be one person and the index corresponding to that person. So after that, what we have to return is, we'll return person, person, person dot last thread. The last thread, okay, there is some error over here. Yeah, there are no more errors. So person dot last thread is triple equals to message dot it. So we'll get the ID of that particular message the person is sending. Okay, and then we have to render the component. So if this is true, then the second parameter or the item which we write after the AND operator will get executed. So what we have to execute is that we have to return a div, right? So I'll be returning the div. So this div will be, we'll give it a key. I'll use the dollar operator to get the JavaScript object. So these are the props of the div. Since div is a simple HTML attribute, these props are called as attributes. Since the simple HTML tag, these props are called as attributes. Class name will be read receipt. Is the spelling right? No, it should be EIPT. And then we'll give a custom style. So the style should be a JavaScript object. We'll give a float. If it is my message, then it should be right. Otherwise it should be left. Background image. If the person uploads the avatar while creating the user verify, so we have to render the person's avatar, right? The person's profile picture. So we can get through the dot operator from mapping from the person we got from the map function. And we have to pass the URL. It should be person.avatar. So with this, we completed the render read receipts. So basically what it is doing, it is taking two parameters, message and is my message, mapping through all the people that are present inside that chat, like inside that chat group that is created. It maps through each person in the corresponding index, and it will render that person's message based on whether it is the user that is currently logged in or the other user with whom he is chatting. So if it is his message, it will render on the right side. If it is the opponent's message, then it will render on the left side. So this is basically what we are doing in the render read receipts function. So now after this completed, now we are left with two more components. One is message form to send new message. As you can see here, to send the new message, we need to build this message component, and the last one is login component. So the login form. So these two components are remaining. We'll see them in the next videos. In the last video, we saw how to build the my message component. So now we'll see how to build the their message. So it is pretty similar, but there is a small difference. So we'll see how to do that. So in the my message, we can directly get the message, but inside their message, we'll be getting two props. Like as you can see in the chart feed, we'll be sending two props. One is the messages, one is the message, and also the last message. So we have to open and we have to catch both of those props. We're catching the last message as well as message. So once we do that, we have to build a new constant, is first message by user. Means is the message the first message of that user. We have to check that. So how to check that? If it is not the last message, or if the last message dot sender's username is not equals to message dot sender dot username. So with this logic, if it is not last message, or if the last message sender's username is not equals to message sender's username, then it is considered as the first message by user. So it will return a bool. As we performed earlier, we also returned bool for something. So here, whether we are checking whether it is the first message by the user or not. So now once this is done, we can go to this return date, and here we can have the message row, class name as message row. So now we have to check whether it is the first message by the user or not. If it is the first message, we have to render it in a different way. If it is not the first message, then we'll be rendering it in two different ways. One is whether it is an image or not, or it has an attachment, or it is a simple plain text. So we'll see how to do that. If is first message by user. If it is true, then this after the AND operator, the code will be performing. So what it should do, it should return a div. So this div can be self-closing, no need to have a closing tag. So yeah, this should return a div with class name of message avatar. If the message has some, if the message user has some logo or not, then it should have a style. Style will be of a JavaScript object, so we'll be using double curly braces. The background image is a complete new message, like we don't have the user before, then we should know which user is starting the message. So we'll be having a background image. It will be message.sender. Background image will be, if the message.sender exists, then we'll be sending the URL. URL will be, I'll be using the dollar operator to get the value of the message.sender.avatar. Message.sender.avatar. So yeah. So with this, if it is the first message by the user, the component is built. And now if it is not, then what we have to do? We have to return the two ways of methods. One is whether it is image or whether it is not an image. So I'll be writing the code for that. If the message has attachments, then this block of code after the AND operator should work. Message.attachments. Oh, sorry, there's another. Yeah. Message.attachments.length is greater than 0. If it is true, then we'll be rendering the image component, right? So the image will be same. I'll copy from the previous thing where we developed my image, my message, sorry. So yeah. So the image will be the message.attachment, file length will be, the file source will be the same thing, and the alternate message will be same message information, but style will be something different because this is their message. We have to do it in some different manner. We have to give some margin left and all. Margin left, if it is first message by user, then we'll be giving 4 pixels, else we'll be giving 48 pixels. So yeah, so this, if it has a message, we are using this ternary operator, so we'll be using the message. If it is not a image, the message has no attachments, then we have to render the plain text, right? So this is how we can do it. It is not, then we'll be rendering a normal div with the message text. We can use the same code over here. So we have to change some styles, that's it. It should be left. And then margin, so we'll be deleting the code. Background color. Background color should be I'll give a hex code for that. CABCDC. And after that it should have a margin left. If it is first message by user, then we'll have a 4 pixels of margin left. Otherwise we can simply have 48 pixels. And then we'll be rendering the message text. So I'll be doing the indentation part. Yeah, I think the indentation is completed. So with this, we completed the their message component. So now we are done with the my message component, their message components. We have also seen how to render their messages, whether it is an image or a plain text, and also to see whether it is the first message by the user in that group or not, to render it in the customized way that we want. So after completing this, I said like we have to create the read receipts function in chart feed, and also the last thing that is remaining is the my message.jsx, sorry, not message form. In message form, like as you can see now here, we have to have a search input bar where we can send messages, start typing messages, and the final step after this is the login form. So we'll see the remaining stuff in the next video. In this video, we'll see how to write the code for the message form component. So basically what we'll doing is, by the end of the video, we can type a new message, or we can send an image or any attachment like a video or any PDF through the message form that is present over here. So that we are going to build through the end of the video. So now here, instead of message form, I have to return something. We'll do that. So now let me import few state hooks. So I'll be using use state hook, import use state from React. So this is the autofill. So these are the snippets that are present in Visual Studio Code, which helps for autofill. That's why I recommend you to use Visual Studio Code. And then I'll be importing few icons that are required from the Ant design icons that I installed in the first videos. Send outline. Be careful with the spellings. Picture outline. Should be camel casing. Basically, we are following camel casing over here. Picture outline. From the Ant design icons. You can also use Material UI, but in this video I'll be using Ant design icons. And the final import we have to do is so these are basically the components or the objects that the chart engine provides us with default. We can use these functions or components that are developed by other developers. Okay, so no need to write again code for this send message, each typing attributes or functions to showcase them. We can use them from the already inbuilt functions from React Chart Engine. So that is the beauty of React Chart Engine. So once we are done with this, when we are opening the message form, we can get the props. So I'll be using this use state hook, the value, set value. So basically what this line of code does is that we are using two constants, value and set value. Use state is a hook that helps us to create or change values dynamically without rendering the whole page. So the components which uses this hooks only will render when the hook value changes. So initially we are initializing with it a empty string. So the value of this value constant will be an empty string, and the set value is a method that can be used to change the value of this constant value. Okay, so this is what the use state hook does, to basically change the value dynamically. And then similarly we can destructure the props. We'll be getting the hold of chart ID and credentials from props. Now after this we have to render the input, right? So we will do that. So instead of this div, we'll be returning a form with class as message form. Yeah. So we'll be not using this action. And on click, so when we submit the form, on click it should do some processing, like when we type the message and submit it, then it should have to reflect that message in the chart feed. So on click, on submission of the form, we'll be calling a HTML function that will handle the submit. We'll be creating that in shortly. So yeah, so our form is ready. So after that, we'll be creating an input function. Input with few attributes. We'll see the attributes. So the class name will be message input. Placeholder will be send a message. So value will be the JavaScript object value. So this is called, this is a good way of programming. The value of all the inputs should be the hooks, so that whenever we type something, the value keeps on changing constantly. Only that input will be changing dynamically. So this value we are giving to the prop of input. On change it have to set the value. Handle change. So what handle change does is that it will use this set value method and then change the value whenever the input is changing. And on submit, it should be handle submit, similar to the form. So once we are done with the input, now the important thing is the upload button, image button, the picture icon. So this should be done, right? So we'll be writing the code for that. Label. HTML for will be the upload button. Then the span, picture outline. So picture outline will have a class name of picture icon. So this is the thing that we imported from the Ant design icons. So the span also will have a class name called image button. So once it is done, the label part is done. So after the label, again we will take some input. This input is for the file. So whenever they click on the image or something, we have to open a screen, right, to upload the file. So that will be the next input. Input type will be file. Multiple will be false. Only one user can send one file. You can keep it true if the user can send many files. But to make it simple, we'll be using this false. ID will be the upload button. Style will give an inline style with a JavaScript object. Display will be none. So on change, handle upload dot bind this. So handle upload will be a function that we'll be creating shortly, and we'll be sending the parameter of this. That means we are sending the image to this chart. So after the input, the final thing remaining is the button. Type will be submit. Class name will be send button to send the image that we are selecting. Then we'll be using the icon over here. There's a small correction over here. It should be capital S. Now it is perfect. Send outline. There is a, okay, wait. Class name, and then we have to close the button. We have to close this. Yeah. So once we are done with the basic return function that we have to show in the front end. Now we'll be doing some coding part for handling those changes. So first thing we have to do is handle change. There should be a small fetch. This will take the current event that is being generated, arrow function. And what we have to do? It have to set the value of the input, right? Event dot target dot value. This is how to retrieve the value of that event. So if you have any doubt, you can just console log the event to see what the event contains. It will contain a target. In the target, it will contain the value. And then the is typing should be true. So we will be sending is typing props and chart ID. So we are done with the handle change. The next thing remaining is handle submit and handle upload. So now we have to do handle submit. We will also take an event. And then we have to prevent the, so basically the default behavior of HTML is that whenever we click on submit, it will refresh the home page. So the best practice in React is to only to refresh the components, not the complete page. So we'll be preventing the default of the event. Event dot prevent default. Const will be creating a text constant. So if the text length is greater than 0, then we'll be sending the message. The send message is a function that we got from React Chart Engine. We'll be sending the credentials, the chart ID, the group, like to see which to send, to let the computer know which group it is, and then the final object will be text. And then finally we have to set the value to empty string. So once we send message, again we have to get a new empty form to send the message. So we'll be setting that to empty string. So now handle submit is also done. The last part is handle upload. Here also we'll be getting an event. We have to catch the event. And then there is only one line of code. We have to send the message in the image message, the attachment message. The same thing, but here we'll be sending the files. Files will be the event dot target dot files. And the text will be empty. So with the help of this line of code, we can send the images. Send outline, seems like send outline is never used, but we used it. Send outline, so it should be small l over here. So we have done the error management. Okay, that is still a typo. Yeah, right. So yeah, so our code is ready for the message form. You can see it once the web page is completed. We have to import the message form in app.js. We'll do that shortly. So basically this is how to build the message form component, handling the upload, submit and handling changes using the state hooks and then the boilerplate HTML code for form and input and buttons. So we are left with the login form and then integrating this message form and login form in the app.js and finishing the website. So we are into the final part now. We are in the end game and we'll see the finishing of the login form in the next video. In this video, we'll see how to finish up the login form component. So first thing you have to do is create the login form component. So here we will be importing the useState hook and the Axios. So this Axios helps us as the socket between the two users that are chatting. So this is the REST API thing. You can check this in the documentation of the chat engine. You can go to chat engine, go to REST API docs. And then here you can see, like in my charts, you'll be seeing the create a post request, the get request will be using API engine, and also the Axios to get the post request or get request. We'll be seeing that how to use them. So yeah, so we'll be importing the useState hook first. And then import Axios. We have installed this in the starting videos. If you are not sure whether about it, go check through the starting videos once again. Now we need to have the project ID. As I said, the IND should be capital in project ID. Just copy the ID of our project and paste it over here. We'll be creating the final login form function that we need to export. And we have to export the default login form. And we need to return a div called login form. So there is an error over here. So why we are getting the error? Sometimes Visual Studio Code throws error without errors. So basically just rewrite the code. There will be no errors. So this is the basic structure of the login form. Now we have to go in deep and build the complete login form. So I'll be writing the code for the login page, the HTML code inside this div. So the first div class name should be a wrapper class. And then the division class name should be form. And inside the form div, we'll have a h1 with the class name of title. And the title will be chat application. After that, we'll be having a form. Form on submit should handle change. We have seen this in the message form also. Handle change, handle submit, because it's on submit attribute. So inside the form we'll be having few inputs. Type will be text. Value will be a JavaScript object. On change, instead of writing a handle change function, we'll be writing a function here only, here itself. We'll be writing the pseudo function, so so that instead of writing many lines of code for the new function, creating a constant for the handle change and again passing it over here, we'll be writing the complete code here only. So it will take the parameter e, set username, e dot target dot value. So this set username and the username will be coming from the state hooks that we are going to code just in a few seconds. So once this is completed, you can give the class name, will be input, placeholder will be username, and this is required. So this is the same thing with the password also. So we'll copy paste it over here. Type will be, instead of text, it should be password. And the value will change it, set password. Placeholder will be password. Class name will be input only, placeholder will be password. So here we'll be sending the username. And here we'll be sending the password. So now let us build these state hooks over here. The first thing will be username and set username. The set username is a method that we use to change the username, the value of the username. Initially it will be a empty string. Similarly for password. So we'll be using another state hook for error handling. I'll initialize it here itself. So once we are done with the inputs, we have to create a button, right, for the input to submit the input. So the div will be center div. Div with align is equals to center. This div will contain a button. Button with class name of button. This button will contain a span of start charting. So the button is ended, the division is ended, the form has a closing tag, and then finally, if this doesn't work, we have to return the error, right? H1 if the error is present. Error. Division is ended, the division is ended. So we are done with the boilerplate code of the HTML coding part for the login form. Now we'll see the JavaScript code trying to catch errors and then the handle submit. So after this is done, we'll create the function for handle submit. We'll be using async await. Async await is basically if there are multiple functions running, if all of them run at once, one may not be completed, right? So there may be, if there are hundreds of functions running, one or two may not get completed, and this will cause to the reduced efficiency of the application. So basically async await, what it does, it makes sure that every function is done after each one another. So every function waits until the one is completed completely. So this is the usage of async function, like multi-threading, so kind of. We have to prevent default, as I said in the previous video. Then we'll be creating a constant auth object for the authentication purpose of the user ID. The project ID, we have to send the project ID. The username will be username. The user secret will be the password. We have created the auth object. So now we have to do the error handling part. We'll be calling the try await Axios. So as I said, this Axios is used for the REST API part. We'll be sending a get request to the API engine charts. So the header will be the auth object, the object that we created above. Auth object. So once the user gives the username and password, we'll store them in the local storage. Instead of creating a database using MongoDB or Postgres, we'll be using the local storage, the localhost 3000 storage. Set item. So we'll be creating a username key value pairs with the username value as for the key username. And we'll also store the password of the user that he is entering. This will be in the form of key values pairs. So once it is stored in the local object, if there is no error with the username and password, if it is present in the user's database of the React chart engine, then we have to reload the chart feed window, right? So we'll be reloading the chart feed window. And then this error will be nothing. Error will be an empty string. If it is not in that way, if there is an error, we have to catch the error, right? We'll be catching the error. And we'll be setting the error to oops, incorrect credentials, incorrect password or something. Credentials. So with this, we have completed the login form. We have did the error handling. We are doing the login part with the auth object coming from the Axios. We have used the Axios for the REST API to getting this call from this URL, giving a get request with the following header objects, and then storing the username and password that the user enters in the local storage. If the credentials are true, this will return true, and then we are reloading the new window and setting the error to empty string. If there is some error the credentials are not matching with the database present inside the React chart engine, then we'll catch the error and then set the error as oops, incorrect credentials, and we'll give a message in the HTML form. So with this, we have completed building all the components. So our app is almost to the end. The final step is if there are to check whether we have to import something in app.js or chart feed so that everything works properly, and finishing the app is the last thing. So we'll finish the app in the next video. We came to the end of the project. So we have to do the small error corrections and also check whether the app is running fine or not. So here, as you can see, I did a typo. I clicked it as chart ID. It should be the chart ID that we are destructuring from the props. So I'll do that. Chart ID. So once this is done, just open the React app and then refresh it. You can see we have got a message with the attachment and then the submit button, send button. The people are only John. So what we'll do is we'll add some other people. I have created a RAM account with the password 123456. I will add him inside this testing chat field. So I'll add members, add member, I will add Ram. So once I add him and you refresh, you can see on the right side people of this chat group, you can see Ram added, but Ram is offline. So that is why he's having a, as you can see, the red color symbol over here and John with green color symbol. You can send the messages. Hello, if I send. You can see there is an error over here. Objects are not valid as a React child. Found object with keys, float background image. Okay. So there are some error corrections that we have to do in the final step of the project. In the app.js, as you can see, we are directly rendering the chart engine. So we have to write a logic for rendering the login form if the user is not registered. So let me open that. Here, before returning, we have to return the login form if the user is not present. If he is not present in the local storage, if the username is empty in the local storage, then we will return login form. So we have to import the login form here also. Login form.jsx. So once we have done this, there are a few more errors. We'll see how to correct that. There's a small bug that we did here while coding. So instead of here set username, like I have had a capital N over here, so make it to small n. So that is one error that we did. And in app.js, here instead of local storage, instead of O, I wrote A. So change these two wordings and then we are ready to go. So the login form we are rendering in the app.js if the local storage is empty, like it does not contain any username, like it does not have the record of any user logged in. So then we are using the login form, we are rendering this component. And once the user logs in with correct credentials, he can use the chat engine and chat with the group members. So as you can see, we have completed the coding part. Let's check whether the app is working or not. So here when we refresh it, we can see we have got a chat application. So I'll be using username Ram. The password will be 123456. Keep strong passwords for yourself. Just for testing purpose, I'm using simple passwords. Start chatting. So as you can see, inspect element. Go to application. In the local storage, you can see the username Ram and password 123456. Now if I refresh it, since it is present inside the storage, it is rendering the chart feed. It is not present inside the storage. I'm clearing the storage and then refreshing it. It is rendering the login form. Now I'll log in with John. You can see a username is John and his password will be created and then it will rendering the page. So this is how we can do the login part of the website. So with this we completed, we can send the messages, the images. If you click on image, we are getting like this a folder where we can send images. We can send them and then we can send messages, type hello and send. You can test those. So with this we completed the chat application. Basically throughout the course, throughout the project, we have used many different items like and design, icons, React chat engines, Axios, and the logic behind my message, their message, chart feed, login form, and everything, the app.css styles where we wrote the styles of everything, all the buttons and forms. So this is the end of the project. We completed building the chat application from start to advanced using React chat engine, and you can find the code files in the resources section, and you can check them if you have any doubts or if you are getting any errors while building the application. Thank you.